All right, looks like I'm live, guys. How's it going, everyone? Let me get this stream opened up here in this other window real quick. All right, anyways, how's it going, guys? What's up? Let's see who we've got here in the chat. We've got Warsaw Patriot was in here first, it looks like. We got Twisted Rhetoric. How's it going, man? I met you last night. Cave Dave, how's it going, man? Glad to see you can finally make it. Let's see who else. JNNC, I'm not sure I met you before, but how's it going? Glad to have you here. Matteo 674, how's it going, man? Glad to see you here too. Oh, okay, JNNC is Jeremy S. Gotcha. Changed your name. Okay, I know who you are then. Cool. Anyways, glad to see you guys are getting along in the chat, having a good time, right? Okay, anyways, so I don't know. Tonight I was going to start off by talking about the P38 again. We had that in another live stream. It seemed like you guys were kind of interested in it. And a few of you brought up the fact that it's kind of inspired some other handguns, right? So anyways, here's the P38 that I had before. This is a World War II era Walther production. You can see, like I said before, with that AC code on there. AC 41. So see, like I said before, you know, in World War II, they had the P08 that had been, you know, a tried and true gun for about 30 years prior. And they decided they needed something that they could step up in production, right? Something that was a little more modern. And that's where this gun came into play. Introduced a few new technologies like the double single action, the decocker, and, you know, just a lot easier to produce, and it's probably a more reliable gun, to be honest. And if you notice, what's kind of unique about this gun is it's got that open slide, right? So that could help, in theory, you know, keep a little debris out of there. You don't have the whole entire barrel completely shrouded and enclosed where debris or, you know, mud and stuff like that could get in there and kind of clog it up. So this is a pretty utilitarian approach to just simply getting a bunch of troops armed as quickly as you could, which was the Germans' primary goal at that point, right? So yeah, the P38. It's going to be hard to see, but there are some small waffen ops on there. Maybe you can see those a little bit if I hold it just right. Yeah, so pretty cool little piece of history. Let's see here. Let me see what you guys are talking about. Twisted Rhetoric. Yeah, your grandfather had one of those. Was he a World War II vet, maybe? I know a lot of the vets brought these home. There's a lot of vet bringbacks. In fact, this particular one I have is an import, but I have other ones in the collection that are I have another one that's a vet bringback, I should say. And yeah, this is a war production gun made in 1941, so right at the height of World War II. And like I mentioned in a previous stream, they had the date codes, or the factory codes rather. So AC was code name for Walther. They thought if they used code names, you know, secret letter codes, that the Allies wouldn't be able to figure out who made it. Therefore, it'd be harder to bomb the factory, right? So, yeah. I got some new lighting lately, guys, so you can kind of see some of these proof marks a little better when we're talking about guns. So yeah, let's see here what else you guys are saying. Yeah, Army paratrooper. Yep, I can see him coming across one in combat for sure. A lot of these were kind of like laying around per se and then captured. Brastard is noted as joining the chat. Is that Brastard or Brastard? 762. He says he has one that was made by Mauser in May of 1945. Yeah, that's cool. So Mauser would have been like the BYF code. That was codenamed for Mauser with the P38s. But yeah, these are like I said, they got the heel release on the bottom, which I'll get to that in a second. This is the standard European manual of arms to eject from the bottom. That way you can simply grab your magazine and then retain it for future use. These weren't looked at, being a disposable item. You wanted to keep these at all costs because a lot of times as the supply chains broke up and got weakened, there was no chance to get new mags. So that's why this is not a drop-free mag. It was never intended to be. It just kind of sits there. You can kind of hold it in place till you get it all the way out, and then it's going to come free. So yeah. Oh, let's see here. Patriots. Our grandfather served in the U.S. Air Force in World War II. He's a mechanic and machine gunner. B-17 bomber and did 26 missions over Germany. Yeah, a lot of these people, a lot of people here have grandparents that were in World War II. I mean, I guess if you were an able-bodied man at that time, you were going to be in the war, right? Whether it was the Pacific Theater or Germany, basically. Yeah, so this one right here is actually like a shooter. I can do another live stream if you guys are ready, these showing you a couple of my cool variants that might be worth a little bit more money. This one's actually completely mismatched. The slide and frame are two different serial numbers and actually two different manufacturers. So although it's a World War II gun, it's not a collector by any means. But yeah, I'm kind of into for those of you guys that aren't familiar, I'm kind of into collecting milsurps. That's pretty much my thing. The AK obviously, SKSs, Mosins, pistols, pretty much all of it really. Anything I can afford to get basically. If it's kind of like Cold War era or older, that's what I'm into. US and foreign both. So I'm not just into the con block stuff. I'm also into the US guns. It's just with the con block stuff, it's kind of like there's more variants, different countries making the same versions of the same guns, all the different cool stuff. So basically, not that I'm bored of collecting American guns, but it's kind of easy to like, kind of get one of each example and then be done. But that's why I got into the foreign guns too, because you can just keep going and going and going, right? Oh, let's see what else you guys are saying. I don't like how blocky and sharp the front of the bottom of the slide is. Yeah, it is a little blocky up here. I'll admit. But hey, I mean, this was like pretty much though, if you think about it, compare this to like a P38 or some of the other stuff that was out at the time. This is actually a pretty streamlined package. I mean, really, it's pretty small considering, and everything's kind of just like I said, built around utility and function, pretty much. So I guess the most famous thing when you look at this gun you think of is probably like the open slide, right, with the exposed barrel. And I'd say the second most famous gun that looks like this, or maybe it is the most famous now, would be the Beretta. So in the United States service, we have up till recently, and still do in most cases, have the Beretta M9. I know the SIG took over the contract, but I believe there's still way more M9s out there than the SIGs. So anyone that's kind of more familiar with the current, service could let me know. But I believe this is still widely used, and this is a little bit different version, but this is basically a Beretta M9. And this specific gun is a Beretta 92S. Now, not the FS, but this is actually the Beretta 92S, which is basically an older model that was used for Italian service. So this is one of those that's been available the last couple of years, on the surplus market. I bought this probably about 3 years ago. It was pretty affordable. When I bought it, I paid a hand select, and this one actually here is in pretty good condition. Most of these you find are shooters, and well, they're all shooters, but most of them are kind of, a little bit worn, a little bit of beat up and wear to them. But this particular one's pretty much, close to mint. So thought I'd bring this out to show you guys. But I mean, you can get these right now for, let's say, about $300. I've seen them for, as high as maybe 330. I've seen them as low as 279. Every once in a while, Classic will put a sale on these, and I think their regular price is like maybe 300 or 309, and they'll knock another $20 off. So yeah. And back to that whole magazine release. Now this, you know, back with the Walther here, you've got that heel magazine release, right? So this isn't necessarily a heel magazine release. However, they're still keeping it down on the bottom here. So even though it's a side push button release, it's still that same manual of arms where you have your hand here to release the mag release, grab onto the mag, and retain it. And I realized after I packed these guns up, I'm at my shop right now, guys, okay? I'm not at home. I realized after I packed these up to bring them out here tonight that I forgot to bring a mag, but you get the point, right? So it's the same thing, like I said, to keep the gun down, actuate the mag release, grab onto the mag, pull it out, retain it in your pouch or in your pocket or whatever. So, yeah. And the main point of showing this gun today is, although it's a little different, like in its proportion, if you will, it's still got that open slide, right? You can still see pretty much all of the barrel besides the chamber. Now you're going to notice the key difference here, right? So whereas the Walther, they just abandoned the bottom, you know, frame portion of the gun as well as the slide and just literally kept most of that, about half the barrel open. Whereas the Beretta, they still keep the frame carrying all the way down almost to the end. But as far as the top goes, pretty much, you know, about equally open. You could almost argue the Beretta is even a little more open because it actually comes back. The ejection is a little further back in the frame on the Beretta than it is the Walther. But yeah, so these are the two guns side by side that are often talked about as being like inspired by each other, right? And yeah, they kind of are. I mean, not completely. I'll tell you what, they both actually feel similar in the hand, but the Beretta has quite a bit fatter of a grip, being a double stack and all. The thing with the P38's grip is it's not quite a double stack, but it's thicker than a lot of your current single stacks. So it's like a I don't know, like a 3/4 stack as far as the grip's actual width. But of course, it has a single stack magazine. So with that, the Beretta has a little bit wider grips, but obviously it has, you know, almost twice the mag capacity. So I guess with that said, I'd say this gun's probably a little better for, you know, for a gunfight, just based on the fact that no one's ever going to complain about having too many rounds on tap, right? So yeah, still has the same features I was talking about before, where this gun is either double or single action. And then if you put the gun in single action, you can carry it. You can safely carry it by simply pushing down on the safety. And that's going to decock the gun and put it in the safe mode. So obviously, if you already have a round in the pipe, you're free to just relieve the safety, pull the trigger, and go back into single. So yeah, this is a common feature that most people like today, the whole double single action. And this gun is this particular specimen here is something from about the 70s, right? So we're talking, you know, from its conception in 1938 until the 70s, you know, about 40 years went by. And I guess the Italians decided to evolve the gun into this. Oh, another feature too I want to tell you guys about this. Some of the old guns don't have actually. Another cool thing with the P38 is it does actually have a true slide release, right? Let's see if I can do this on camera backwards. So the slide release is right there. You can push it down and the slide goes home. Which is like totally different than the P08, right? Which has like that toggle on the back that you have to pull forward and it goes up. So they did kind of come a long way too with the slide release. Same thing with this gun. I don't have a mag, but I'm going to hold it open. And the Beretta 92, of course, it's actually like a more streamlined than the P38, but nonetheless, it's got the slide release right here too. So yeah, just wanted to bring this out. And sometimes it's kind of nice when you're talking about these guns just to both have them in the same place at the same time. You can kind of look at some of the different things they have in common, some of the things that are different. I'm definitely noticing right now the front sight sticks up quite a bit higher on the P38. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? It could be good for maybe better target acquisition, but I'm not so sure I really want this thing hanging out there. That just looks like something that could snag or get on a piece of clothing or something during a mag change. So I don't know. Let's see what you guys are talking about in here. See if you guys are interested in these guns or not. Okay. Okay, Twisted Rhetoric. He was issued an M9 and doesn't care for it at all. So I guess here's what I would say. Like, it's good to have different people's viewpoints in here, because just as like a regular old collector shooter guy, and I've shot this gun maybe not a ton of times, but I put maybe 50 to 100 rounds through it, you know, just to test it out. I thought the gun was a pleasure to shoot, really enjoyable at the range, right? But that obviously doesn't mean that it's good for any type of military service. And that, you know, from what I've understand in the military, these guns can go tens and tens and thousands of rounds without having proper rebuilds a lot of times. So they can get kind of junky. So yeah, any other service people in here that were issued one, let me know what you think, because I think just because a gun's great at the range and maybe even great for self-defense doesn't always mean it's a good military gun, right? Oh, let's see here. A couple guys giving the guns compliments. Thank you. I mean, I didn't design them, but anyways. Warsaw is talking about a Springfield XD. Hold that thought, actually. I think we're going to circle around to that before we're done tonight. Bastard 762, it should have been a double stack. Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. I mean, I'm happy with what the gun is for, you know, 1938. I think they actually, this thing's like a modern marvel for its age, right? But in hindsight, what we know now, they probably should have been able to figure out how to make this into a double stack. And I think a lot of that has to do with the doctrines of war too, though. They weren't necessarily maybe valuing the pistol as much as some people do now. And there's probably a lot more to it, but yeah, this gun probably could be a double stack and really not be any bigger. I agree. Yeah, so screw Springfield. I agree with their politics, but I don't know. Here's the thing with Springfield, guys. First of all, I'm going to show you a couple Springfields in a little bit. One of them's not a Springfield at all. The other's a Springfield XD that I bought before they did that. And here's how I look at it. I'm not going to give them any more money and buy any more of their guns. I don't want to further that company and how they did what they did. And I'm fully supportive of, you know, it's having personal boycotts on them if you want. That's totally cool. However, if I already bought the gun before they did it, or before I would have had any way of knowing it, it doesn't really prove anything for me to just simply get rid of it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, any Springfields that you ever see me show or talk about are ones that I've had for quite a few years, and I no longer support that company, but at the same time have no reason to throw my guns away that I own by them. Let me know if you guys know what I'm saying, you know, on that. Yeah, Cave Dave said, you know, it's a nice shooter. Yep. So you agree with me. They're smooth shooting guns. Okay, let's see here. Francis has popped in. How's it going, man? Good to see you back. Okay, you guys are talking about Springfield. It's a healthy debate. Nothing wrong with, listen, guys, there's nothing wrong with bashing Springfield at all. I'm just simply stating that I already bought some of their guns, right? What am I supposed to do? If I get rid of them, that doesn't punish Springfield at all. That just makes me take a hit on a gun that, you know, has been otherwise, you know, reliable. So there's no reason for me to just simply dump my Springfield to prove absolutely nothing. But with all that said, yeah, screw Springfield. Okay, let's see here. Twisted Rhetoric. Yeah, you may be onto something there. So before there was Springfield, there was actually a company, right, guys? We'll get into that in a few minutes. You guys are talking about Springfield still. Well, Springfield didn't make the M14 necessarily. They call theirs the M1A. The older M1As were made out of like mainly USGI parts with Springfield M1A receivers, right? And then this was like in the 70s. And as time went on, they kept making more and more new parts as military surplus parts kits were drying up, to the point where in the last so many years, I'm not sure how long it's been, but let's just say in the last few years, if you buy an M1A now, it's 100% new parts. And I guess you call it a clone of an M14. And that's the other thing. I do own a Springfield M1A, I have to admit. Again, bought it quite a while ago. Wouldn't buy one today. Can't stand what that company did. Terrible. But again, me just dumping my gun, I don't know what that proves either. So I just kind of have it in the collection as a placeholder for an M14. Even though I know it's not really an M14, it looks like one at the display. And I kind of put it next to my M1 Garands and, you know, my M16 parts kit build I did. And I like having it in the collection, but I, again, don't want to give them any of my money. What do you guys think? Just a quick poll here. If you guys are into Springfield or not, which one of you guys says screw Springfield? I'll never buy their stuff again. Okay. Or you could say that you don't care at all. You'll buy a new Springfield tomorrow. Or does anybody think like me where you won't support them anymore because of their anti-gun politics they were playing, but you're not necessarily just going to dump your stuff because, you know, it's not going to help Springfield by keeping it at this point. So what camp are you guys in on that? Francis, buy a Polytech M14 instead of Springfield M1A. Yeah, those are out there. Not quite as good at guns probably, but they're okay. The Legend Series M14, I'm really familiar with those. The thing is again, those guns have been banned from import since before '89. So you're not really helping China if you buy one of those either right now, right? Or hurting them. But yeah, anyways. Okay, Cave Dave won't support. Here's my thing though. Do you guys actually see where I'm coming from? Because trust me, I'm not just saying this. I don't support as much as any of you guys. But do you understand why I would just keep what I had? Because I already paid for it. And with such a bad name Springfield has now, nobody really wants to buy this stuff for even half of what it's worth. So I just think, here's another way to word it. If I knew that me dumping my Springfield XD would cost Springfield even $1, I'd sell it. But I don't see how that's really gonna hurt them if I get rid of it. So I'm just kind of keeping what I got. Yeah, I'm the same way. Twisted Rhetoric. I'm keeping what I got, but I won't give them any money until things change, or I guess if they change, right? I mean, I really hope things change. Some of the guns that they made are actually didn't really made for them by the Croatians really aren't that bad of guns. I know like there's the roll pin in the XD and things like that people talk about, but I put a ton of rounds through my XD and I'm still on the original roll pin. In my opinion, they're actually decent guns. It's just the whole Springfield company completely sucks. So yeah, I'm not going to support Springfield. And if I show a Springfield in a few minutes, guys, keep in mind, I'm not supporting, I'm not telling you to buy one. I was just going to kind of go through a little bit of lineage. So speaking of that, we kind of talked about the the P38, just a quick recap here. And some would say, I think it'd be fair to say it kind of evolved into the Beretta 92 series, this being the 92S. And there's another gun that's not really quite as popular that I'm going to grab here and see what you guys think of that. I'm out of desk space, so I got to go grab that one. Okay. So we're going back to the P38, and then now I'm going to bring this guy into the equation. Anyone out there familiar with this gun? I've got the side with the model number on it, so I'm not going to show you the other side until maybe someone can guess what this is. So this gun's from Croatia. Okay, Warsaw Patriot knows what it is, I think. Nope, no clue, you said. All right, man, come on. You're acting like you knew what it was, but all right. Anyone else familiar with one of these? Anyone have one of these in the collection? Yeah, Sarko did used to have these. I bought this from, I'm trying to remember now. I think AIM Surplus. All right, guys. So this is the PHP MV. And I don't know, tell me what you guys think, but you kind of look at these two guns, and I think it's hard to really deny that there might not be a little bit of a inspiration, at least, right? So now this PHP MV, this kind of goes back a little bit closer to the P38, in my opinion. So here's the Beretta. Doesn't really look quite so much like the Beretta, does it? Now the P38, I mean, we're getting pretty darn close now, guys. Like look at these two guns next to each other. Even in front of the ham, right? If you look at that little like cutout area, that dish in front of the rear sight, I mean, that's even almost dead on. So these guns are pretty darn close. The front end looks a little bit different. If you look on the, somebody was saying earlier, Brastard, I think, was the one that didn't like the hard edges on the front end of the P38. Well, the Croatians kind of fixed that. They definitely brought the slide forward, so it's kind of got that in common with the Beretta, right? But the top of the slide, or I'm sorry, the frame rather, but the top of the slide, it's back to being a P38 again. So it's almost like somebody was sitting there in Croatia saying, you know, we need a service pistol, right? And do we want this or do we want this? And maybe some of the engineers wanted this, the others wanted this, so they just put them both in a big bowl and turned on the mixer, right? Because, yeah. Let's see what you guys are saying here. PHPMV looks like an old SEG. Okay, yep, I can see that. Who made it? So this is made by IMP is the actual factory, which is like a military arsenal for the former Croatia. So everybody hears about, like, you know, you talk about former Yugoslavian guns, right? People always think of the famous Zastava factory because that's been marketed a lot with like the Sentry imports of all your NPAPs and OPAPs and all of those. They always like to brag about that Zastava factory. Well, you have to remember Zastava's in Serbia. So when you had your Bosnian wars and there was all the conflict going on in what was used to be called Yugoslavia, these guys weren't exactly all friends with each other, right? So it wasn't going to be like okay for the Croats to say, hey, Serbia, make us a gun, good buddy. No, they were like killing each other, right? So yeah, there are other factories in the former Yugoslavia besides the famed Zastava factory, and then like that's where this IMP comes into play. And again, this is not a civilian gun. This is actually a gun that was made for military service in the 1990s, by the way. When I'm doing these streams, guys, I don't have any cheat sheet. I'm not, you know, opening Google up in a new tab. So forgive me if I don't remember all the exact stats, but this was somewhere in the 90s, let's just say. I don't know the exact year. Let's see here. Okay, country of origin, that'd be Croatia, which you can see right there on the slide, made in Croatia. Okay. One of the big gun channels told people the rear sight is drift adjustable on the P38. You know what? I never tried to do that, but I think it is. If you look at it here, you can kind of, if the camera focuses, there it is right there, guys. See, there is a dovetail. So yeah, I would say it's probably drift adjustable, actually. Oh, it's not, you're saying. Okay, I'm sorry. I learn something new every day, guys. I mean, I know quite a bit about the history of these and the different factories that made them, and I could probably bore you for an hour. But when it comes to actually, you know, the gunsmithing, I don't think so. I don't know everything about it. So please, please, please don't let me spread misinformation. I can just say there's a dovetail here. If you look at kind of like the dust cover portion of the slide, it does actually kind of go up and into that rear sight a little bit. Let me see if there's a way to show that. Yeah, so this kind of almost protrudes underneath there. So if it, yeah, I don't know. So if you were to take the cover off for the loaded chamber indicator, and then drop again. See what else you guys are saying here. Glad to see everyone's getting along. Was this the gun in Behind Enemy Lines? I don't know. Hopefully someone else in the chat can answer that. I'm not exactly sure. I don't even think I've seen that movie, to be honest. I'm not really a big movie guy. I'll watch like documentaries and history stuff, and then I watch, you know, quite a bit of YouTube. And when I'm not watching that, I'll watch like congressional committee hearings. I'm kind of like a political geek. I'll literally watch like the House Oversight and Reform Committee meetings. So it doesn't leave too much time to actually watch like regular big screen movies. But if it wasn't a movie, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, so another thing, so with this gun, it kind of brought it even a little more modern, right? So now instead of having that heel release or the side push button release, this actually has a modern release that's right about where we would. So for a right-handed shooter, right there on your thumb, that's about where we would expect it to be in the United States, is right there. So that's kind of an improvement on this gun. Now it's still the same thing though. When you push the mag release on this gun, it doesn't drop free. You actually have to grab it and pull it out. So we're back to that manual arms again, where you're always supposed to retain your magazine. Speaking of which, this looks a lot like a Beretta magazine. I wish I had remembered my Beretta mags to show you guys, my 92 mags, but geez, it sure looks pretty close, doesn't it? Okay, same thing here. It's got a couple of the other same features. So when you bring the slide back, it's like impossible to do this backwards, guys. I'm sorry. When you pull the slide back, it's got a slide stop and release right here. Same thing as the other two guns. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. I'm doing this through the camera. There you go. It's really stiff. This gun's like another one that has like really low round count. There might be some dust on it, but this thing's like very lightly used, if not basically unissued. So it's a little stiff. But if you'll notice, this one's just a safety. Now there's a little wire here, but no matter how much I push down on this, I'm not getting the gun to decock. So, but thank God there's no magazine release. That's pretty cool. I can't stand guns that are magazine safety. I'm sorry. I can't stand guns with mag safety. So this one, mag's out. It'll still let me pull the trigger. Single action, and then also double action. You know, the double action is really not that bad on this gun, actually. It's long and stiff, right up to the point, and then it just breaks. Not bad. Pretty heavy pull, though. Let's compare it to the Beretta here. Yeah, Beretta's trigger's a little easier, a little lighter, maybe a little smoother. I'd say the Beretta trigger is just a little better, although really not a whole lot of difference. The Walther, yeah, I'll be honest, guys. At least of these three examples, it's got the worst trigger pull. I mean, it's really stiff, and then there's no type of clean or predictable break at all. It just kind of is like really, really hard pull, goes to like a mush break at the very end. But in all honesty, you'd probably be carrying this gun. I would assume if you were actually carrying this gun in combat, you probably just, you know, load it up, put a round in the chamber, and then actuate the decocker. Maybe one of you military guys would know, but that's what I assume. I assume, you know, they're just gonna just deal with that first trigger pull being pretty bad. Because if you actually thought you could snipe with this gun and have like a real accurate shot with it at any kind of distance, you're probably screwed anyways, right? And this is a topic that I've talked about quite a bit before too. I don't know. It seems like it's always good to bring it up. People always want like this hair trigger or like a super smooth trigger. But if you look at actual military combat, you don't want a hair trigger on these guns. I mean, there's a reason why all three of these, with them all being military or police guns, that they have like 15-pound plus double action trigger pulls. Because you could have with adrenaline, you could have a problem of, you know, pulling it out of the holster and accidentally grabbing for that trigger. You could be, you know, think you heard a little noise while you're on patrol in the dark and kind of come in looking for the guy and boom, boom, boom. Oh, shoot, raccoon. We just gave our position away. So I think there's a good reason why all these double action pulls are like quite heavy. But yeah. Let's see here what you guys are saying. No, I haven't watched the Demons of War yet. I worked like all day today, guys, like at least 10 hours, and just didn't have time to watch anything. But I'm going to be doing a quick unboxing on the Demons of War movie here in the next couple days. Magazine safety should be banned. I won't own a gun with a mag safety. So you guys agree with me. Yeah, okay. Twisted Rhetoric brings up a point. He's a serviceman, so he's basically saying if you're struggling with your gun and the mag gets ejected, now you have a short club instead of a gun. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So there's a reason why these mags aren't just drop free. But if you look at like all the training that goes on now and all of the I guess the modern way of thought in this country, everyone's always just, you know, hitting that button, mag drops free, grabs the next mag, throws it in there, leaves the mag on the ground. They step on it, they stomp on it, don't even bother to pick it up. I mean, that seems to be what you see on a lot of these YouTube videos. And I guess basically people at American training schools have access to a lot more mags than a lot of these troops did, because I've read time in and time out that the mag was like one of their most prized possessions, and they weren't going to do anything to let that mag out of their hands. So I don't know if either all these modern trainers, you know, have it wrong, or if times have just changed a lot. I don't know. Maybe you guys have an opinion on that. Walmart Wi-Fi. Are you at Walmart? Are you at Walmart, Maddie? Okay, your internet. I hope it's not buffering for everybody. My internet seems to be pretty good here right now on my end, so. Let's see here. All right, it looks like a couple of you guys actually like the rear release or the heel release. You know, it's really not that bad of a thing actually, because you're right. You know, you're right here releasing, and then the mag's just right there. Unless, of course, you just want the mag to drop on the ground again, so you can step on it or whatever it is that you do to show how operator you are. Most gun trainers on YouTube are retards. Yeah. What's worse though? These retard gun trainers or a guy like me who's on here actually like trying to pretend to know something about these guns, and so yeah, I know what you mean though. A lot of these guys have a little bit more ego than they do actual skill set, from what I've noticed. So yeah, this is a pretty cool gun. This isn't necessarily a valuable gun. This is where like rare doesn't always mean valuable. I would make the argument that this gun is like way, way, way more rare than this one. I mean, like I know for a fact, I don't even need to argue that this PHP is way more rare than this P38, but certain guns just kind of get that lore about them and just draw people to them, and for good reason too. I mean, it's obvious why these guns are so cool and everybody likes them, but these guns were made by the millions, like literally by the millions. And these guns were made in like the low tens of thousands, maybe like 20,000. So yeah, these are actually quite rare, just not particularly valuable. So if you guys just want something fun for the collection or to plink with or whatever, I'll tell you guys the downside to these. They weren't very good in the 90s for some reason, Croatia, with making polymer. And virtually all, and like literally all of the original grips on these fail. And they break apart like crazy. And this is actually a reproduction grips that I bought off a guy on eBay. He was able to cast, you know, make a casting and do his own injection molding. So yeah, not a casting. He made a mold. I'm sorry, like how they make castings and made these. Now I do have the original grips, and those are sitting in the box because they have cracked spiderweb cracks through them so bad that if I were to even shoot this gun once, they were just going to break. So I set those aside, and yeah, this is a nice pair of reproduction grips. So a lot of times you can find these, you know, on Gunbroker, like his gunsmith specials, where the gun's fine, but it's either missing the grips altogether or they're badly broken. And assuming this guy's still out there, you can go on eBay and, you know, you can pick up one of these guns for cheap on Gunbroker or whatever, then go on eBay and buy a set of these repo grips, and you really can't tell the difference. The only difference I can tell is these grips here are actually a more modern, more supple plastic that has a little bit of give to it, rather than those old grips. They were like a, I don't want to call them like a Bakelite or anything like that. They're just that really, really hard, like crappy plastic where you just like touch it and it doesn't give, it just cracks, right? So I wanted to throw that out there. If you guys get one of these, beware of the grips and check eBay to make sure that this guy's still selling them. I think they were around $35, which might seem like a lot, but this guy had to prototype these and injection mold them, you know, one at a time with probably not too much demand. So with all that said, I think it's a real fair price. Okay, Strike Nine's here. How's it going, man? Let's see what else you guys are saying here. Talking about crappy internet service. Yeah, we were talking earlier about the retaining your mags. Mags do cost money. And I guess some people have infinite money and just don't care about their mags, but I don't know, like it's not a big deal. Here's how I look at it, guys. If I drop a mag from my gun and it drops straight to the ground and it instantly becomes damaged or so unreliable I can't use it again, I'm going to be pretty leery of that mag, right? So I do want my mags to be able to be dropped on the ground because you never know when you might accidentally drop it. But that's a completely separate point than purposely just letting your mags hit the ground and stepping on them, filling them with dirt. I don't know why you want to do that, because now you just got to go home and spend hours disassembling all your mags, cleaning them out, getting the dust and dirt out of them. So yeah. Let's see here. Now I've been told, I was told by a buddy of mine who's been out of the Army for about, let's see, maybe 2 or 3 years now. So fairly recent, out. And he said basically, even with the M16 mags, like if it does drop on the ground, it's not like the biggest deal ever, but you're not supposed to drop it on the ground. He said the way he was trained with his with his specific job, he was supposed to be keeping his mags and bringing them back. Now he never actually fought in combat, but in his combat training that they did, they said that you're supposed to keep your mags. And he said they gave him some argument too that not only do we want to keep them, but we don't want to let the enemy get them so they can reverse engineer them, which is kind of a joke because obviously every country in the world has access to an M16. I mean, we've given M16s to pretty much all of our enemies, so that just sounds like some kind of hype that that they tell the guys, that we don't want the enemy to get these mags because they could reverse engineer them. I mean, I think that's a joke, right? Okay, lots of M16 mags in the desert around where you live, is what Brastard says. All right. Yeah, I don't know. He said it wasn't that big of a deal. Like you wouldn't get in trouble or anything really, but you weren't supposed to purposely just throw them on the ground and jump up and down on them and all that. And then if you did drop it on the ground and it dented, he said they wouldn't give you new ones, so you were just forced to have a mag jammed all the time. Some of you service guys can tell me if that's true or not. Yep. Okay. I think Twisted Rhetoric explained it. You're supposed to retain your mags. That's what a dump pouch is for. But things happen, right? But you guys know how some of these guys on YouTube are. They'll bring the gun all the way up and they'll run out of ammo, and then they'll do all that, and then and it's like this like slow motion thing where they go, and this gun won't do it because it's not drop free, right? But they flick their wrist where you can just watch the mag in slow motion, just all the way down to the ground. Then they look down on it and stomp on it, and it's hard to do the impression in front of a webcam, but I think you guys know what I mean, right? They'll like literally go through so much effort to get that mag to like do as many possible somersaults in the air on its way down that they almost lose retention of the gun itself a lot of times. If you actually watch like how quickly some of these quote operators will do the whole oh, let's see here. Warsaw is asking me if I like ARs. Of course I do. Yep. Yeah, I have one here with me right now. I always keep an AR handy. In fact, this is kind of off topic, but here's what I've got sitting right behind me on this other table. This is kind of like my little shop defense gun, right? This is a pistol I made with Shockwave. 300 blackout. It's a pretty lightweight build. This is just a real nice little small package. Easy to brace against my shoulder. Yeah, I like this gun quite a bit, guys. I really do. I've got this little Spark AR on here. It's a decent little red dot, backup sights. Yeah. This has got the Mag Tactical lower. Makes it a few ounces lighter. This CAC Shockwave buffer tube's pretty light. I mean, I could hold this gun for quite a while, even fully loaded, This is I think this is an 8.5, right? And it just looks a little longer because it has this cat can on it. But yeah, I wanted to keep it where it's I wanted to keep it where it's as short as possible. And I'm not a ballistics expert. From what I understand, 300 will still perform pretty good out of this short barrel. It's got a heavy profile. Let's see if the camera pick it up. It's more of a heavy profile stainless barrel. But yeah, I like the AR. I got one right here. Right now I'm running the these are the PPU. I believe they call these OTMs. I think these are open tip match. They've got that, you know, hollow point, otherwise known as open point, open tip rather. But yeah, pretty big fan of the AR-15. See what you guys are saying here. I'll tell you guys one thing though that I like to do when I'm shooting, and this might be one of those stupid operators on a, you know, put it on a closed AR bolt. Man, it's not enough for me just to put it in there and kind of push. I've got to really smack that thing, and I usually like to do it 2-3 times just to make sure. Because I'll tell you, one of the biggest things I've seen happen so many times, buddies of mine, different people at the range, they go and put that full mag in on a closed bolt on an AR, and it gives you this false sense of security that it's in there. And then the first shot, tell me if any of you guys have ever seen that happen. I know somebody's seen that happen. So I don't do it to, you know, look like an operator, but I literally like to just get on that thing and hit it a couple times just to make sure. Never damaged the gun from doing that, but yeah. I kind of got off topic. I wasn't really talking about ARs tonight, but someone asked me if I like ARs, and of course I do. I mean, I like all kinds of shit, guys. Hey, hold on. I like RPGs. Russian RPGs that were then given to the Poles. See if I can get it to show that circle 11 on here. It's kind of a weird angle. Oh, there it is. So yeah, I like RPGs. I like ARs. If anyone in here doesn't like RPGs or gets offended, they can just leave, because you'd have to give your man card away before you wouldn't like an RPG, right? Let's see here, guys. Oh, you guys are saying a bunch of stuff. Let me see if I can catch up real quick. Yeah, I'm in my little like streaming part. Let's see here. Okay, we've got 6 thumbs up, 12 people watching. Twisted Rhetoric has a 14.5 inch barrel there with a pen and welded muzzle brake. Yeah, that's a good setup. I bought one of I have a one of my rigs I'm running right now. I bought one of those Faxon lightweight 14.5 with the pinned on muzzle brake. It's pretty cool. And it's actually got the really low profile muzzle brake on there that you can actually, you know, take your gas block and put it over it without removing it. So I'm kind of happy with that barrel. I think Faxon makes a pretty good barrel. Do I like the installed piston-driven system in the M16? What do you mean by installed? I'm familiar with piston ARs. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any of those. I'll be honest with you guys. Nothing against them. They might be great, but here's me. If I'm gonna have a AR, I'd rather it be a direct gas impingement gun. And then if I want a piston gun, I'm gonna go to another platform that runs a piston, like an AR, let's say, or AK. I'm sorry, like an AK. So I don't know. It's not that I have anything against them, and I have no reason to say they're bad or anything. It's just not for me. I look at the direct gas impingement Obviously Stoner didn't invent that design. That was out way before the M16, the theory of gas impingement. I mean, I've got some older guns that I can do on another stream if you guys are interested, that came out quite a bit before the M16 that run a direct gas impingement. But it's kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So no, I don't have any piston driven ARs. Let's see. I think in the Vietnam War, there was a lot more to it than just whether it was a piston gun or not. I think there were things with ammo. The fact that when the guns were first issued, they told them not to even clean them. And then just to try to entice the guys to clean them, they came out with like a comic book with like some, like hot chick on it to try to entice the guys to want to read it, to start actually lubing their rifle. I have a couple of those old comic books. Those are pretty cool, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And yeah, so I think there's a lot more to it than the gun itself, why they were having problems in Vietnam. Okay, let's see here. Do I have any police trade-in ARs? No, I don't. I kind of think they're cool, though, the ones that say, for law enforcement use only. It's kind of a cool little relic of like a bygone era, right? So I've been interested in some of them, but AR isn't really like my thing. So I try to focus on, a lot of other stuff. So no, I've never picked up one of those. What I do have, though, is a Vietnam era Colt M16A1 kit, where it's a complete kit. Everything's original Colt with the exception of the lower receiver. It's not a registered machine gun. I built it on an AR lower, but everything else on it's real deal Colt M16A1. I like that gun quite a bit. Yeah, that forward compensator, whatever you want to call it, that can, whatever, that does make it look longer than what it really is by about 3 inches. Okay, strike 9. Guy got a gas block to run suppressed. I'm not an expert on that. That's the thing with the AR. You get into so many different gas blocks and stuff. I know a little bit about it, but I've got a lot to learn. I've been into although I'm into pretty much all guns, I've been into the com block guns probably the longest. So no, I'm no AR expert. There's so many different manufacturers of gas blocks and stuff out there. I don't even know what half of them are. Oh, Mr. FNH says, and then it still falls out after the first shot. I hope not. Not if you've got your bolt catch right. I hope not. Let's see here. Tell us something about the German HK 416s. I'll talk about those another time, actually. I've got some German guns. Let's see here. I'm never going to get to the other guns I was going to show if I digress too much. Yeah, okay, so Tristan Roderick said something, he probably said it before me, but in Vietnam there was problems with ammo manufacturing, type of powder, burn rate of powder, things like that, So there were some manufacturing problems back then. Yeah, that's what I've read too. Yeah, Mr. FNH says we're lucky to have working AR-15s after its stuff start. Yeah, I agree, because the gun could have been a no-go for logistical reasons, and it started to become a political disaster at a certain point because half the country didn't even want us in that war, so it was easy to find stuff to, talk crap about. So yeah, we are kind of lucky we even have these guns anymore, because there was a time there where it wasn't quite so sure. Yeah, Mr. FNH touched on the same thing. They didn't issue cleaning kits after thinking the powder on the cartridge because they had a surplus. Yeah, switching to the piston system. Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier too, how it doesn't really add any extra reliability. That's kind of what I've noticed too. Not a whole lot of difference. And you guys got to remember too, with the gas guns, that gas tube is supposed to act like a fuse. So before you can catastrophically melt down that gun, that gas tube's supposed to fail. It's not a real hard part to change. It's a pretty cheap part. What are they, like $10? And you can change one. If you don't lose the stupid little roll pin, that's the easiest place you can go wrong, right? But if you don't lose the roll pin, you could probably change one in a matter of a few minutes usually. So yeah. Let's see here. My M16A1, which lower am I using? I need to go to like Nodak Spot and get like a real one, you know, a real clone. Right now I'm just using an Anderson. It's kind of a shame to throw a shelf receiver like that, off the shelf receiver on such a cool kit, but that's how it is right now. I got so many projects I haven't really had time, but I do want to put a proper A1 lower on it. I just bought the kit and I wanted to see if everything was good to go, so I just slapped it together real quick with what I had. I mean, I didn't slap it together. I put it together nice, but I didn't want to wait to order one of those special order receivers. Yeah, I think gas piston driven guns are awesome. I think it works in great platforms. I just haven't seen that there's necessarily a big difference on an AR. Like like Mr. FNH says, I have a pair of SCAR rifles. I would hate them in direct impingement. Yeah, I wouldn't want an AK in direct impingement either. It just depends what system you're using, in my opinion. Some of those SCARs are worth big money too. Man, it's just turned into a whole thing, right? Those SCAR heavies. Like, how much are they worth? It just seems like, I don't know, just more every day, right? I don't have a SCAR. Like I said, it's so hard, guys. The longer I keep doing these streams, you guys will see I have a good many guns and all, I think. I mean, not as much as a lot of people, but gosh, to collect them all, it's literally impossible. Especially since I'm not rich. See, to me, if it's going to be a SCAR, I'd rather have the SCAR heavy. The SCAR light, it's like, I'd probably take a Bushmaster ACR. Why not? I don't know. But the SCAR heavy, now that's cool, man. I like the SCAR heavy a lot. Nothing against the SCAR light. Don't get me wrong. The 5.56 is all right and all, but to me, if I were to get one, I'd probably just try to go all the way and just get the heavy. Let's see here. Talking about how reliable the HK416 is. Yeah, I think so. Francis says the video games ruin the SCAR. It's one of those things where it's this close, guys, and I hope it doesn't happen, but the SCAR could actually become a hipster gun soon. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's going to leave the chat when I say that, but it's getting close, and I hope it doesn't. Because the SCAR is a real deal gun, and a lot of really good friends of mine that are true gun guys have SCARs and just love them. So I'm not calling it a hipster gun, but tell me what you guys think. Is it getting close if we don't watch ourselves? It's getting close. The ACR. Yeah, so someone else talking about the ACR too. Yeah, ACR is a pretty cool platform, actually. All right, guys, I'm going to go back to kind of the topic we were on real quick. Okay, so we went from basically the P38, right, for whoever's just joining. And then we could say next would be like the Beretta 92S. And then we have this weird guy here, the PHP MV. So after Croatia had this gun for really a short period of time, let's say less than 10 years, they came out with the next one. Give me a second here. I'm running out of desk space. I'm going to go grab that one. Okay. Tell me if anyone knows what this is. I think I just... All right, hopefully I covered it in time. somebody earlier, I think it was I can't remember who. Okay, Warsaw was first, but incorrect. Sorry, man. Um, JNNC. I got to get used to your new name. So Jay said HS 2000, and that is indeed what this gun is. So nobody can hate on this, guys, all right? Because this isn't even a Springfield. So we can get into that whole other debate that I had earlier about whether you should keep them or not if you've already got them, but this is not a Springfield. This is a true HS 2000. We can see the importer here, N-Track, out of Knoxville, Tennessee, and made in Croatia. Over here, we've got the 9x19, the HS 2000, and I Am Metal. The grip texture is similar to a like the first and second gen Glock in its texture and in its look. However, the grip angle, absolutely not. Totally different. In fact, the grip angle is pretty much identical. Back to this again, guys. We are going somewhere with this, right? It's pretty much identical. In fact, I've read when the Croatians invented this gun, they literally used the grip angle for the P38. And I'm not joking, guys. It's the same. Like when you feel it in your hand, it's the same exact grip angle. So if you like the grip angle of the P38, this gun's actually going to feel good in your hand. And I'll agree, guys, this gun does feel really good. I mean, even with, I don't notice the grip safety. You know, you guys can love those or hate them. I don't know. Whether you hate the 1911s or, you know, I don't know. That's a whole other argument I don't really want to get into. But let's just say the grip safety just goes right in like it should. And this gun just fits my hand like a glove. And again, not coincidentally, it basically feels about exactly the same as this P38. And the grip really isn't any wider. Let me see if I can get a perspective on that. The grip on the HS looks wider at first, but it's really not. It's deceiving because the grips kind of like come in narrow and kind of bubble out on the P38. So by the time you actually get it in your hand, if anything, the HS 2000 almost feels a little smaller in the hand, to be honest. But yeah, I really like how this gun feels. Sure, you guys already know how the action on these work. Of course, now at this point, we've gone away from the hammer fired to a striker fire design. Totally different. You can say this gun kind of copied the Glock to a point, as much as basically as much as any polymer gun did. But there's quite a few things that make it different, to be honest. I mean, it's got a totally different grip angle. It has the rear safety. I know a lot of people hate that. But it does retain some features, too, of the older guns, like the striker indicator. That's kind of cool. You got a live round indicator on top, which the P38 has an indicator as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is basically next in line. They don't even really look like each other at all. But they're both Croatian service pistols too. And from what I understand, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I read before that, you know, this is the PHP was made in the IMP factory. Now this gun's made in the IM Metal factory. From what I understand, these are actually the same manufacturing facilities. They just kind of went by a name change at a certain point. So yeah. Let's see what you guys had to say about this. Twisted Rhetoric's going to bed. Yeah, man, thanks for coming out for the stream, and good meeting you, and hopefully we have you again. Good talk, man. We'll talk to you later. Let's see here. It looks like a Glock. Oh, Matteo had an HS 2000. That's the thing, guys. When these guns first came into the country, they were cheap. Like cheap. I don't remember exactly, but like sub $300. The minute the Springfield came out with these, like a year later, they added like $200 to the price. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Twisted Rhetoric said what I just said. One can argue when it comes to polymer frame guns in the 90s, they all copy Glock. Yeah, I think you could argue that. Although I wouldn't call it a clone of a Glock, but yeah, that is kind of the pervasive argument, right? Let's see here. Looks like a big old Glock frame with a little itty bitty XD slide on it. I don't know. The XDs are never known for their low bore access. But again, just due to the comfort of the grip, it's actually a good shooting gun. Someone was asking me if it's a good shooter. Yeah, it's a good shooter. And these sights aren't bad. You know, they're low profile, but you can get a decent sight picture with them. Let's see if we can get that lined up a little bit. They're not bad. Those white dots, it's pretty easy. I actually like the low sights, to be honest. So they're not snagging on anything. Let's see here. This is a little different than a this is a little bit different setup than a CZ Warsaw. So yeah, IM metal. Oh, this side, IM metal HS 2000. I mean, this is a legit gun. And here's the shame too, guys. These used to be so cheap, and I'm gonna piss I'm gonna piss Matteo off here. And I'm not bragging, guys, but these are collectible now. Okay, I hate to say it. These guns are pretty hard to get. Like, if you can even find one on Gunbroker, they fetch a pretty penny. They've kind of become, like I said, a modern day collectible because they really weren't imported very long. I think they were imported under the HS 2000 for about a year and a half. And then Springfield bought the exclusive rights to market them and put their name on the guns. Springfield XDs, though, still made in Croatia. That hasn't changed. So here's the thing, guys. Don't boo me, but I'm going to show you one more here because I just have to, because we're kind of going through this little, you know, story, if you will, with these guns. The lineage. I bring out another one. Then again, I'm not ashamed to own because throwing it away would mean nothing, okay? All right. There we go. I'm not advertising for them. Their politics suck. But again, their guns aren't bad guns. And by saying that Springfield has pretty good handguns does not mean I'm complimenting Springfield because, as I just explained, Springfield doesn't make any of these guns. So I'm going to say in one hand they're good guns with also not complimenting Springfield, right? Now, here's the thing, guys. Let's see here. So I'm going to do an unboxing of my new Springfield that I just bought yesterday, despite their politics. No, I'm joking. I've had this gun forever, like literally forever, but I've just kept it new in the box just because. Not because it's collectible, but just because I have a couple of these. So this is like new old stock unboxing. I've literally probably had this gun for about trying to think here, 7 years. All right, let me get this box out of the way here. But I just keep it new in the box because why not? I have a couple of these. It's really a shame what Springfield did because I really did like their guns. Well, the Croatian guns they were importing. So here's your XD. This is the regular XD compact. Not quite full size. It's got, I consider this a full size gun, but they consider it to be their compact. And I'm sure you guys have seen like 150 million of these. But you're going to notice a couple differences here. So if you look at the HS2000 and then the Springfield XD, you're going to immediately notice a few things going on with the slide. Slide serrations are totally different. They've added the front slide serrations onto the XD. And then the rear slide serrations, there's less of them on the XD, but they're like a little bit wider and deeper. Whereas your HS2000, they're a lot more streamlined. I actually think I like them better on the HS2000. I can still grab a hold of it, even with just a couple fingers. And they've got like, you know, not enough sharpness to cut you, but they're kind of sharp enough where you can grab onto them and not lose your grip. So I'm actually going to say for the slide serrations, I'm going to give it to the HS2000. The XD does have the front slide serrations. I don't do this, guys. I never do the old press check ever. So since I've never done that, it doesn't really matter to me about the front ones. I think they're absolutely useless for me. Let's see here. Trying to line this up where you guys can see the front ends of them a little bit. They're a little different on the front end. And the main difference is we've got this little rail on the XD. Where the HS2000, nope. Other than that, they're about the same. They both have the serrations on the front trigger guard, which I know some people shoot like this. I don't do that either. So this is kind of pointless for me. I like to keep my forefinger down here to, you know, support the gun. I definitely am not a fan of. I'm trying to figure out how to even do this, but yeah, this I don't do this. But it has the feature in case you were so inclined, right? Okay, let's see here. The grip frame. It's similar, but it's actually different. If you look at the XD, it's got like that portion in the middle that has like subtle texture into it. I think you guys can see that in the light. Right in here. Whereas the HS, nothing. It's just completely, you know, the same texture all the way up here as there is right here. Where with the XD, they added in just a little bit. But for all intents and purposes, they both feel about the same as far as the grip goes. I mean, if you look at the back strap area here, it's the same. No real difference there. I'm pointing two guns right at my face. That's probably real advised, right? But yeah. So this kind of like I said, a little bit of a piece of history nowadays, the HS2000. I guess this is technically history too. They used to be perceived as a decent gun company, now they're not, and they don't. I don't even know if they make these anymore. The regular XD9. I know they've you know, switched to the Mod 2 now. But yeah. Which one do you guys like more? Does anybody have a preference? And I don't mean because Springfield sucks. I literally just mean like the design differences. Would you rather have the little bit smoother grips, the smoother nose of the frame here, and then the serrations? Those are the three biggest differences. I'm going to vote for the HS myself. Okay, Jay says the HS, Warsaw, the HS, Matteo. I think what they did, to be honest with you guys, is when the Springfield brought these into America, they obviously told HS to change a few things, I would assume. And you know, if you watch YouTube, like we were saying before, you must have the front slide serrations. So they had to put those on there. Like that's a must-have. There's a little bit of extra texture here. I'm kind of neutral on that, to be honest. There's not enough here to really make it any better or any worse, okay? It just doesn't. So that's really nothing. And then the rail. I guess I'll say for functionality, if I were to use this as my bedside gun, which I don't, I would want a way to attach a flashlight. So I guess as far as just a shooter and the aesthetics of it, I like this gun more by quite a bit. If I were to only own one, though, okay, only own one, I would probably have to own this gun because I'm a firm believer that for my bedside gun, you know, bump in the night gun, I have to have a flashlight on it. So I know carrying an extra flashlight or a separate flashlight's another tactic. I like to have the light on my gun. So yeah. My actual bedside gun that's immediately next to my bed is a handgun. It's neither of these. And the rifle is very, very close. I guess I subscribe to the whole use your rifle to or your pistol, I'm sorry, to fight your way to your rifle. But the rifle is really, really close. Like, I can literally, without even moving my head from my pillow, reach the handgun. Where the rifle is going to take about, I could either get out of bed and walk 2 steps, or I could lean halfway off the bed and still probably get to it. So it depends how you define bedside, right? But yeah, and then the other thing too, I think this is probably obvious, but just so you guys know, the mags are interchangeable on these two. You can just freely swap the mags back and forth. They literally made no changes to the mags whatsoever. But yeah, it's one of those deals where I hate the company, but I don't hate this gun. Like, a gun's an inanimate object, right? It doesn't have feelings or political ideologies, so there's nothing wrong with it. I would trust this gun. I don't use this gun to defend myself, but would I? Heck yeah, I would. I don't see any reason not to. So get this sucker put away here. See what you guys are saying. Matteo's bedside gun is a 300 Blackout AR pistol. Yeah, I agree with that theory. I just showed you guys my shop side gun right over there. That's how far it is for me. Like, I'm doing this stream, I can roll my chair and have this gun this quick. Of course, at the moment, right now, there's about 10 other ones like right next to me too, but they're not loaded. I made sure these guns were unloaded because I wanted to explain all the different, you know, ways they decock and double and single action. And here's another thing, guys, too. You can do what you want, but if I were you and you have a P38, I would not necessarily trust the decocker, especially if it's an old original one. So just wanted to throw that out there. All right, Strike Nine's checking out. Good night, man. Thanks for coming on in. I'll do another one here probably in about a week. Let's see what else I missed. Yeah, good thing there's no safety Nazis in here. Of course, I am being safe, but some people on YouTube have their own theories. Matteo, witness 10 millimeter or 40. So I think I've heard this from you before, but do you like the witnesses? Because I do. I actually I have several CZs, and I like my Tanfoglio witness. I like it. I really do. I think it might be my favorite one to shoot. Whereas I like my couple different variants of original, you know, Czechoslovakian military surplus guns. I like those the most, like to collect and to look at. But when it comes to shooting, I think my Tanfoglio is probably my favorite. Let's see here. Okay, Matteo loves them. Them and the Sarzomaz. Yeah, I've heard of those. I don't have one of those, but you know what I was looking at getting is this other gun that's called a Sargun, just Sargun. I've been eyeing it up forever. It's on that one site that sells like closeouts. Why can I not think of the name of them right now? They have like odd lots of shit, you know. For the life of me, I can't think of that stupid company, and I bought like 10 guns from them. Anyways, if anyone knows about this gun called the SAR gun and you've actually had one, you don't see many of them, let me know. So I'm kind of thinking about it. The CZ-27 Nazi Mark, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool, actually. I don't know. I think I might get that SAR gun. It's See, here's the thing: the gun itself was only like 280 or 300 bucks, but they take a proprietary mag, and the mags were like 35 bucks a piece, which is whatever, I guess, but a little bit high. Warsaw Patriots asking me to compare my Beretta to a Taurus PT92. And that would be fun, except for I don't have a Taurus PT92. I have one Taurus revolver. Other than that, nothing. I'm not really a Taurus fan, to be honest with you. Especially some of the problems they've had with some of their auto loaders, the Millennium and all that. I don't know. But I shouldn't say that because I'll start arguments quick. I already know better, guys. So, but no, I do not have a Taurus 92. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, the SAR gun that I was looking at is a 9mm. I think I'm gonna check one of those out soon. I don't know if you guys want to stay on. I can do this for like probably about 20 more minutes, but I need a quick 5-minute break. So if you guys want to chill for 5 minutes, I can come back. I still have a couple other guns I'll briefly show you, but all right, I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, good night, Warsaw. If anyone's left in 5 minutes, I'll come back and kind of wrap it up with you guys for a few minutes. All right, guys, I'm back. I don't know what you guys drink when you're on these streams, but this is my favorite. I'm a pretty boring guy, I guess, but unsweetened Lipton iced tea. This is my favorite thing to drink. Now, let's see what you guys are talking about. Thanks, Warsaw. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. Mario, yes, CDNN. That's exactly who I'm thinking about. And I've gotten some sketchy orders from those guys too, so I'm not really going to give them like 2 thumbs up like Such would, but I'll just say they're kind of they're all right. Okay, they've never messed up a gun order, but they had these blowout bore snakes they were selling for like $1 a piece, and they had them labeled as 7.62 millimeter / 30 cal, right? As we all know, that's the same thing, right? Yeah. So I got all of them, and they're 7 millimeter. The problem is I have like 1 Spanish Mauser and 7 millimeter, and it'll kind of barely grab onto the lands and grooves of a 30 cal, but not good enough to really clean it. That kind of pissed me off. Call them up, and they're like, "Dude, it is what it is. You only spent like $1 a piece for these boar snakes." And I'm like, "I know, guys, but like I would have just like literally saved like my $10 if I bought like 10 of them, right?" So I was like, I would have just saved my $10 if I would have known that you were going to send me the wrong thing. And they're just like, "Dude, like, what do you want us to do about it?" I'm like, "Send me the right ones." They said, "Well, that's the problem. We don't have those. So we just gave you these instead." And I said, "You know what? Just whatever." So nothing wrong with CNN. They're just kind of, I don't want you guys to think this is like an endorsement all the way, right? Oh boy, you guys are talking about some good AK stuff that I'm definitely into. Oh boy, someone mentioned pre-ban. Those of you guys that know me from Zeke's chats, if you guys even get me to say the word AK pre-ban, I'd talk for 3 hours. So I'm not going to talk about that right now. Arizona green tea, yeah, that's good stuff too, actually. I don't like my tea sweet. I like the Southern people and I like the Southern culture, but I guess that's where I'm a Yankee. Down south, y'all, as you would say, y'all drinks the sweet tea. And you can't even, different times I go down south, I'll go into a restaurant. Now the chains are different, like your McDonald's and all this, but you go into a regular mom and pop type restaurant, you can't even order unsweetened tea down south. And again, love the South, love the food, love the people, but it pisses me off because I can't get my Yankee iced tea up here. Let's see here. Talking about some different AKs here. Yeah, the old Kasner imports. Yeah, I've got some Hungarian guns, Kasner and KBI both. Anyways, I was supposed to do this at the beginning, guys, because I had like double the people in here. But a couple quick things I wanted to say that aren't related to these guns. So as you guys probably already know, if you looked at my last recent videos, I did a challenge video in response to the Josh Benware channel. That's a good channel. If you haven't seen that, you should probably check him out. He's a good dude. And then I challenged 4 guys that are usually like in my chats. And Zeke Shoots, haven't seen a video from him yet, so we still got to call him out. Warsaw, I'm calling him out, period, regardless, okay? And then Mr. FNH, I know is working on one, he told me. And then Mal64D, he did one, and he actually did a really good job. So I'm going to assume maybe everyone here is a subscriber of his, but if you're not, you probably should be. Go check out the Mal64D channel. If you're into building AKs, like, it's a total must. He has like a whole library of really good information. But he's into other guns too. And as you see by him doing this latest video, he's got a lot more up his sleeve than what he's done before. So it was good seeing Mel do a video again. He hasn't done one in a few months. And, maybe if everyone goes over there and likes him and likes that video and leaves some comments, we can talk him into making videos again, because he's a good dude, and I think it's kind of a shame that he hasn't really been making a lot of content lately. So, oh, yeah, okay. So, Bastard762 just found my channel because of Mel64D. Well, that's cool. So obviously you know about him. Yeah, Mel did a new video. So if you didn't get the notifications, head over there when you get off of this stream. He does his Combi 2 gun challenge, and he kind of goes into some detail and brings up some pretty good points, actually. So yeah, just go check that out. Francis bought a Polish AKMS built by Two Rivers Arms. It's an original barrel kit on a Polish Childer's CG1 receiver. That's cool. There's a lot of the non-barrel kits that are available right now through like AOA and all that, but those barreled Polish kits are worth a little bit more. And I know I've showed it in my last video, but this gun here, this M64 Reweld, that's a Two Rivers Arms. So yeah, I'm a fan of Two Rivers. Jay says there's so many options, can't decide what AK to get next. I know. Don't even have to tell me about that, man. Yeah, so which one do you choose, right? And then you decide, well, you want them all, and there you go. There goes your wallet. There goes your time. It can be a pretty addictive hobby, I'll admit that. I've kind of tried to subscribe to the get all of them mentality, and I've tried my darndest, but I don't think I'll ever be able to get them all. I'm probably going to have to set this up at my house one day, because if you guys want to see some pretty cool AKs, I could if I want. It's not a big deal, but I don't really feel like loading up like all my AKs in one trip, especially with, you know, some of them are kind of expensive, let's just say. And I'll probably need to bring a camera home and do some filming in my gun room. Because it looks like some of you guys are actually into some of these pre-ban AKs and original barreled stuff, and that's totally what I'm into. Wasn't sure how many other people are even into that, so I could either bring stuff up here one at a time, or if you wanted me to show you like all my Chinese guns at once, we should probably yeah, I should probably move this setup over to my house, because there's just something about carrying, like, you know, I'm just making up a number here, but it might not be far off. Like if you're going to carry like, you know, 80 grand worth of AKs in your vehicle, it just seems a little bit. Not that I'd be afraid to do it, but you know what I mean. Let's see here. Oh, someone's going to build a 9mm chunk from their backyard. I don't think you mean literally, do you? Yeah, I know. Don't crash, right? And then you get pulled over, and I was pulled over one time, guys, in Michigan with the CPL. You have to tell the cops immediately. You have to disclose that you're carrying, right? Probably a lot of your states are the same way. And I tell this guy, he walks up to the window, I roll it down, and he's like, do you know why I'm stopping you? And I have to interrupt him, which is a rude way to start a conversation, right? But the law like literally makes you interrupt the officer. So I say, excuse me, but I have to tell you right now, I'm a CPL holder, I'm carrying. He's like, okay, all right. Well, they always say this stupid crap, like, just keep your hands where I can see them, he says. It's like, listen, dude, if I was going to shoot you, I wouldn't have told you, but whatever. So keeping my hands up, he goes, okay. He goes, where's the gun at? I said, well, it's in my, on top of my center console here. I've got a truck with the center console and like the little spot to keep stuff. I said, well, there's one on top of the center console. And he goes, okay. And I said, hold on, I'm not done yet. And he's like, done with what? Where's the gun? I said, well, it's right here. And I have to just nudge because my hands are on the steering wheel, like I'm told. I'm like, and then, you know, there's another one in the cubby below that. And then there's one in my pocket. And then there's one over this under the seat. Then there's one directly behind me in the back seat. And then there's about 5 more in that case back there. And he just stops and he's like, now I need you to get out of the car. And it's like, wait a minute, dude, we were totally cool 30 seconds ago when I told you I had a gun. Like, if I'm going to do something to you, I can do it with one gun more efficiently than if I tried to hold 2 or 3 or 4, right? So anyways, this dude's all like nervous. Now you're going to get out of the car. And I ask him, I say, well, as I get out, of course, with my hands up, you know, it's like, they shoot white people too, you know, I get that. So I'm keeping my hands up. I get out and I'm like, well, hold on. After he calms down a minute, you know, if you don't mind, he says, I'm going to disarm you. Well, Michigan law allows you have to allow them to disarm you if they ask. So I'm like, just reach in my pocket, but you need to be very careful because it's in a pocket holster, but it's, you know, ready to go. There's one in the pipe. He looks at me. What do you mean? You have a pipe? And I'm like, oh, no, no, officer. No, no, no pipe. I'm not like that. There's one chambered. And then he just looks at me. He goes, chambered? What are you talking about? And I'm like, there's one in the barrel where if you were to accidentally bump the trigger, you're going to shoot me in the leg. Oh, why didn't you just say that to begin with? He says, right? So, anyways, it just goes to show how your average cop is like very uneducated on guns. I literally said, be careful, officer, there's one in the pipe. And he accused me of smoking crack. Like, this is how this stuff goes. So he takes my gun from me as fast as he can. He doesn't drop the mag and clear the chamber. Oh, no. Keeps the mag in, just sits there all over the ground. It's a little Caltech P38. It doesn't have a slide hold open. He goes, what's wrong with this gun? He's trying to get the slide to hold open. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the gun. And meanwhile, I'm still doing one of these. Nothing wrong with the gun, officer. And he's like, what's wrong with this stupid thing? And then he's like, I don't feel comfortable putting on your hood until that slide's locked open. Where's the slide stop? He's telling me. I said, well, it doesn't have one. And he's like, oh, no, all guns have that. Meanwhile, all my expensive carry almost laying all over the ground. Oh, I think he's watched a lot of technical videos. Finally, he just drops the mag, lets it drop right to the ground. Doesn't even like look down to see where it lands. And he's like, okay, since I can't open this slide to show that it's clear, I have to put it in my car now. So he puts it in his car. And then he goes, about the other guns now. He said, those are none of your business. I said, I don't consent to searches and seizures. And this has nothing to do with anything. The law says you can disarm for officer safety. That's all it says. Unless you're committing me of accusing a crime, I'm not going to talk. So he starts looking at me further and he goes, all right, I'm accusing you of suspicion of committing a crime. I said, what crime? He said, you're under suspicion, he said, of transporting an arsenal. That's his exact words. You're under suspicion of transporting an arsenal. And I said, well, here's the thing, officer. I don't want to argue with you, but the law says that you can't detain me without, you know, accusing me of committing a crime. Or there is no arsenal crime. So, I was basically like, try again. And anyways, to make a long story short, he had to call the station. Meantime, he wanted in my truck. And how disrespectful he was with my little Caltech. You know, I had guns, let's just say like this, you know, that are worth a little money in that case. My other carry guns, they're just tools. They have scratches on them, but I had a case with some collectible guns in it. And then I had, you know, some other carry guns. And with how disrespectful he was with my little Caltech, it wasn't that I was hiding anything from the dude. I just didn't want his greasy mitts on my guns, right? So he had to call the station, and he stepped back like they all do. And never put me in cuffs, though, is the amazing part. Just gave me the whole keep your hands on the hood and don't make one move while I go over here, right? So he went over there and made a phone call. He got off the phone, and he's like, you're lucky my supervisor doesn't want to come out here to enforce the arsenal laws. So, blah, blah, blah. And then he comes back a few minutes later, and he's like, you know, I'm going to set your gun on the hood, he said. But since I can't open the slide to show safety, he's back to that again. He says, I'm going to leave it sit there. You're to keep your hands where I can see them until you see me pull away. And then you can go back and put your gun back on you and you can leave. So, yeah. And by the way, if anyone was wondering, Michigan doesn't have any type of limits on how many you can carry. If you have a CPL, you can carry one pistol, or you could literally, in theory, carry 10,000 or even 1 million, right? So, yeah. Let's see here, guys. What else you were saying? Matthew says, not required in Kentucky, but I always turn the dome light on and keep my hands on the top of the steering wheel, and I always pull my info and have it ready on the dash in front of me. You know what? I did the same exact thing. When this guy came up, I already had it literally sitting there. Exactly. Have my license, my CPL, and my insurance. Because I know better. I'm not going to ever dare reach, you know, once he knows there's a gun in the car. That's both funny and sad. No, it's funny now. I mean, it's over with. Mr. FNH, officers with good bedside manner. That's what you like. I do too. Let me tell you another really quick story. So this is like just a week and a half ago, we had tornado warnings. And anyways, let me back up. I'm driving down the road and I'm on my phone. I know you're not supposed to text and drive. I don't even text and drive. But this was like at 7 p.m. I had an hour drive to get home. I wanted to see my little girl, to wish her good night. She'd been asleep the last 3 nights for me getting home late. I hadn't really got to see her in 3 days, except for her being asleep. I just wanted to get home to see my daughter. I wasn't speeding, nothing. Well, there's tornado warnings. There's sirens going off. So I reached down and grabbed my phone and pull it up. And I'm in a bigger truck, diesel truck, and I'm holding it up so I can see. And I'm doing the weather. And I'm driving just fine. And I'm looking at radar to see, like, are the storms still behind me and I can get ahead of them? Or, am I going to run right into one and have to pull off into a truck stop for cover, right? So that's all I was doing. Well, he happens to be right next to me, this state cop, sees me on my phone, instantly, whoop, whoop, pulls me over. He's like, do you know why I pulled you over? I interrupt him like I have to. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm concealed carrying. He goes, not a problem. You told me you have one on you. I'm sure you're no threat or you wouldn't have told me. So, he ends up being a good dude. He says, you know why I pulled you over? I'm like, I'll be honest, I have no idea. I know I'm not speeding, but even though I'm not speeding, I'm in a hurry to get home. But what are you in such a hurry for? I told him the same story I told you guys, the truth, right? And then he's like, all right. He goes, I actually understand. I totally see where you're coming from. Totally makes sense. Just so you know, he says, I've been on the radio with the station because, we have a weather person there, and it's going to hit just southeast of us. So the direction you're heading, we could sit here right now and it's never going to, you're good, by the way. But you're right. There has been sirens going off. He goes, I get it. I just need to see your license, and everything just to make sure you have it on you. All right. So he goes back to his vehicle, comes back like 30 seconds later. He's like, hey, this little girl you're going to see, how old is she? I'm like, well, she's 6 years old. And he said, does she like the color? And I'm like, well, actually, she loves the color. And he says, would she like a state police coloring book? I'm like, I'm sure she'd love it, And he hands me a coloring book, hands me my papers, my license and all that back. And he says, you know what, sir? You have a nice day. Get home and see your little girl. So that was a cool cop. Literally as cool as it could get. Michigan has a law that if you text and drive, it's a $200 fine. He could have given me the fine. He could have given me a warning, which if you've had a warning and you get it, then it's like a $300 fine. I forget exactly how it works, but let's just say first offense, second offense, the fines keep stacking up. He didn't give me a fine. He gave me a coloring book for my little girl. All he simply said is, thanks for telling me about the gun. Since you're being straightforward, you're good to go. Get home and see your little girl. That's way more important, he said, than this traffic stop. So he was a good dude, man. And then here's the kicker. He said, oh, by the way, just before he left, he's like, see that cracked windshield? He goes, that could be another ticket. I want you to go see your daughter. He said, just get it fixed because that's technically dangerous. So you know what I did? I went and called Henderson Glass in town here, and the next day and booked an appointment, got that windshield fixed. Not because I had to, but because that cop was a gentleman. Me and him made a gentleman's agreement. I told him, thank you for cutting me some slack, officer. Trooper in this case. I called him Trooper, Michigan State Trooper. I said, thanks for cutting me some slack, Trooper. You could have given me a fix-it ticket and another ticket. You didn't. And I looked at him right in the eye. I said, you have my word, Trooper. I'll have this window fixed within the week. And I did. Again, because he was a gentleman and we made a gentleman's agreement. So, yeah, there's some pretty cool cops out there, too. Let's see here. Mr. FNH, I've got those guys backs any day of the week. I agree. He could have gave me a fix-it ticket, made me fix the windshield, given me a ticket for the texting. It's like, whatever, dude. Of course I'm checking the weather. He got it, So, yeah. Let's see here. Kentucky's the same way with the texting and driving. Is that all over the country now, guys? Do you guys all have that? I don't know. We got it in Michigan, I'm going to guess, maybe 3-4 years ago. It hasn't been that long. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Wow. That's not as bad as what I had happen, but geez. Let's see here. Bastard says, we had a cop come from another state that he ran crazy through our little town, beating and threatening people and harassing women. Eventually raped a 12-year-old. Yeah, they can be bad, man. Here's what I found with cops. They're either like the best of what we have or like the very worst. And there are some really good ones too, though. So don't think I'm going to throw them all under the bus. But man, as good as the good ones are, the bad ones are just as bad, aren't they? Yeah, with the increase of deaths while texting. And I hear you, man. I'll be driving sometimes on the freeway. It's 70 pretty much here in Michigan. I'll be behind someone, and all of a sudden it's like I'm just screeching my truck to a halt because they're going 35 on the freeway. Semis in both lanes next to me, can't get past them till traffic clears. I'll pull next to them and literally look down, and it'll be some, like this. Like you can't even see their face. Like it's impossible that they could even drive. I mean, it is bad. I hate to say it because I don't really like excessive laws, and I think our society runs better with fewer laws. But man, considering how bad some of these drivers have gotten, I guess the texting and driving law is pretty good. I guess it's okay. Yeah, screaming and cussing cops. They do what they do. I mean, I know what you're saying, though. Let's see here. Oh, one other real quick question, guys. I'm going to be wrapping it up in like the next 2 minutes. But what did you guys think of my Hank Strange video I did? It was just something where I was just in a certain type of mood, and I do not drink at all or do drugs. Let's just say that. So I can't even use that as an excuse. But I really like his channel a lot. I want to say that. And that was my way of giving him a shout out, like by roasting him, if you will. That was me saying, like, dude, I've obviously watched your videos a ton, or else I wouldn't have, known what I did to make the impression. But I don't know. Mr. FNH, it was a little off. What was off about it? Now, obviously, though, here's what I did. Here was my goal, and maybe I didn't do a good job of doing it, but what I was doing is just taking certain little elements he has, and I was super exaggerating them. Like, I know he doesn't ask for the thumbs up like that often, but I was just trying to, yeah, that's kind of my version, anyways, of like what a roast is I was just really taking some of his little stuff he does and just trying to like take poetic license with it, right, and like grossly exaggerate it. That's what I meant. Oh, mentally off. Okay. I was mentally off, or Hank is? I mean, he does too. You guys know you've been in those streams of his, and they're great streams. I love them. But he will call out for the likes and the thumbs up. He'll call those out, and he'll look over at Lola and be like, "Come on, woman." I mean, I don't know. And the other thing that's hilarious is he's a great gun dude, but he has more than one time held the gun up, in plain view, a common gun, and been like, "This is a," and then he'll kind of check, what is this? So I don't know. I was just I was just taking it and exaggerating it. And then of course he's lived in like every state and country in the world, so I threw that in there. But none of it was hateful at all. It's because I like him. Let's see here. You do what, Mr. FNH? You hold up a gun and don't know what it is? I don't know. I just try to have fun. If I ever do something goofy like that, guys, if you like it, great. If you don't, then just don't watch it. I don't care. I'm obviously not doing this for any kind of money. There's no money to be made whatsoever doing this. Like, it's not even possible. So I'm literally just doing this for fun. The nothing fancy one. Yeah, that one too. I had fun doing that nothing fancy one. Let's see here. Anything else going on, guys? I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I've been on for, I guess in 4 minutes it'll be 2 hours. So it's easy to stay on these chats for a while. Waiting on a pizza in the oven. Man, I'm getting hungry myself, actually. I got some leftover pot roast. My wife made a nice roast yesterday. Beef pot roast, carrots, potatoes, all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Nothing wrong with lasagna or pizza either, though. That's good stuff. Oh boy, Francis wants a PHP. Like I said earlier, check eBay. See if the guy still has the grips. If he does, score you some grips, and then check around on Gunbroker. I don't know how often they pop up anymore, but I'll say a few years ago you could see these floating around with no grips whatsoever for like $200 kind of money, 229 ish. So I haven't even looked lately, but you might be able to still get one of these for a couple $100 and then throw some grips on it and be into the whole package for 300 or less. Yeah, Mattio, I like the look too. Oh, I wanted to ask you a question. By the way, in different streams they pronounce your name different ways. So how do you say your name? Because I think it's Matt E-O. Like your name might be Matt. Let's just guess, and it says Matt E-O. 674. Other people say Mateo. So which one is it, Matteo or Mateo? So I don't know. I've known you quite a while on here. I consider you a good buddy of mine, but I'm just getting sick and tired of the two different ways to pronounce your name. And if I have it totally wrong, then I'll start calling you the right name. Jay says Sam 7R or SLR 107FR. Oh, it is Mateo. So I'm dead wrong. I'm sorry, Jay. Let's see here. It is Mateo. Okay, it's Mateo then. See, so there's like Mateo salsa, if you've ever heard of it, right? But it's Mateo, and I love their salsa. So that's why I was pretty sure yours was Matteo. All right, I'll start calling you Mateo again then. Okay, anyways, Jay, back to you again. I'm sorry. Would I pick a Sam 7R or an SLR 107FR? So I don't know. It depends what your goal is. If you're looking to have a more of a folding stock variant that's going to kind of look closer to a Russian and whatnot, I guess get the 107FR. But if you're talking, with being a Bulgarian gun, if you want it to be a little more accurate and a little closer to a real gun that was used in military service, I'm going to say the Sam 7, because the Bulgarians pretty much use all milled guns, right? They just make the stamped guns for export to the U.S. as a whole. So for that reason, I'm going to say the Sam 7R maybe. But again, it depends what you want it to look like and what you're kind of going for. I guess they're both made for a reason. Not really an apples comparison. But yeah, and if you're looking at the Sam 7, Misha did a good video on the Misha Co channel where he took his and converted it into a, what is it called? It's called the AR something that they use in Bulgaria. So yeah. Yeah, the AR-M1 clone. That's what it was. Yeah. But here's the thing that with Bulgarian guns, with the arsenal guns, that kind of bother me just a little bit. So they'll make like an AKM style, which isn't really true to form to Bulgaria because again they use the milled guns, right? And then they'll put like a 74 break on the end, style break. I don't know. There's just something about having a 7.62 by 39 gun with that AK-74 break on there. It just doesn't look right to me. I know it might be an effective break, and there might be good, shooting reasons to have that, but I don't know, that's kind of always bothered me about the SLRs. And not to mention, again, the milled and stamped, and I just don't think that with the SLRs they do such a good job of having them do a real good representation. Now, the arsenals I like more is I like the SGLs a little better. I've got a few SGL guns, and yeah, I'm kind of more of an SGL fan. I think they pulled off the whole AK-100 series a little better. I know like the SLR kind of looks like a 100 series gun, but I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. Francis, yeah, I'm sure they use the 74 brake as a 922R part, but it doesn't have to be. If you just put a muzzle nut on there or a sugar scoop USA part, that would serve for 922R the same. So there's really no reason for them to do that. But yeah, you're right. It probably is a 922R part, but again, not necessary. Let's see here. Oh, we're talking about Eeyore? Let's see, Maddie Eeyore. See, somebody in the stream last night was saying that it's Rotten Tomatoes for 67 cents. If anyone was in there for that one. I thought it was funny because at least he was trying to step up. I'll give him a little credit on that. The SGL 21, yep, I'm a fan of that. I like my SGL 31, SGL 3168. The Legion Izhevsk, it says on the side of it. That's pretty cool. And I got one of the earlier SGLs too. It says Legion Izhevsk on the side, and on the actual front trunnion, it's got the little Izhevsk symbol, the triangle, you know, symbol that you'd see on the military guns. It actually has that on there. I know they got rid of that, so I think that means mine's a pretty early SGL. From what I understand, the earlier Sagas had the were using literally got their consumer line tooled up and then started making the, you know, consumer trunnions. Still made in the Izhevsk factory, which later became known as Izhmash. But yeah. Let's see here. The gun broker prices, though, yeah. Yeah, Jay, they're kind of mainly white glove guns because here's why. It's totally correct, and I appreciate that it has it, but those have the spray paint finish, if you will, barbecue paint finish, and man, you nick that at all, and that paint just comes right off. Not knocking that they're painted though, because again, a lot of people will argue this point with me, but there's nothing wrong with a spray painted AK if you're trying to make a clone. Because let's face it, most com block AKs are supposed to be painted. Really, some of the older ones were blued. You know, like your AK Hungarian AK-55s, those were blued up until the 70s when they went through a re-arsenal program, and then they all got parked and painted after that. Not all of them, but the ones that had wear on them that were eligible for that, you know, re-arsenal program, those got painted. You know, your Russian guns have been painted for a long, long time. You have to go back to the early milled variants before they're going to be blued. Let's see here. Yugoslavia, they're famous for doing a lot of bluing on their guns. Their RPKs, their different AK variants. But other than that, I mean, everything else, China, China. So you've got, you know, China, some of the earlier milled AK-47s. But by the time we got to AKMs, the only people left bluing were really the Yugos and the Chinese. So, yeah, it's correct to have a spray painted gun. But with that said, the paint's pretty fragile on those Russian SGLs. So yeah, they're kind of safe queens, to be honest with you. I haven't looked lately, but last time I checked, they were going up in price quite a bit. And knowing how, you know, banned guns go, I'm imagining they just keep going up. I should check that out later and see what those are starting to be worth. Romanians and East Germans blued AKs originally, yeah, but not as time went on, not as much. Yeah. I don't know. I might be giving you guys the rush version of the story. Let's just say this. A lot of countries blued AKs at certain points in time, but a lot of times when they were re-arsenal, they ended up getting painted or they switched to painting them outright. So, yeah, there's a lot of painted AKs out there. Mr. FNH likes the Polytech double folder. Yeah, I've got two double folders. Neither of them are Polytechs though. I've got a RAI, which is an earlier import before they started using names like Polytech and the Rinko. I've got a RAI Woodland Hills import double folder, and then my other one's a factory 66 kit build. So 56-1 double folder. I've got the 56-1 in a couple different variants, including the one that that we showed in a few of Zeke's live streams. I think the ones that say Legion and Jeff's on them are worth a little bit more than the ones that say made in Ishmash, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know those have always been worth a little more. It was like their pro shop, okay? So that'd be like Smith & Wesson Performance Center or like the different various pro shops. The Legion of Jeff's was their top shelf version, right? Some Polytex too. I like almost all the Chinese variants actually. My Polytech Legend is the fixed stock version. They also make an underfolder, but not a double folder Legend. Yeah, double folders are pretty cool too. I know those are worth thousands now too. It's crazy. Yeah, the different stampings pull different amounts of money. Again, I know, and this sounds so stupid, but just me having that little Ajeff's logo, the little triangle, like what my kit build that I've showed you guys in other, you know, that one's a Tula. But anyways, I have some other Ajeff's kit builds that I haven't shown. But it has that little Ajeff's symbol right there on the trunnion. I know just the fact that it has that is going to add some extra money to it. Just because it represents that it was like, it's like more military, right? Like it's even closer to being like an actual 100 series Russian AKM. Let's see. You got a Mac 90 when you're 15 back in the 90s. Yeah. Just before 94, I remember people were all this crap was going on and stuff. And yeah, I remember all that. I got a SKS was my first one. I got that back when I was a teenager in the 90s as well. Mr. FNH, if it's a high-hand AK, I lust for it. Yeah. That's the problem with AKs, man. You start collecting all the variants, right? Then you get all the variants. Then you get into the kits. And then after you get all the low-hanging fruit, then it's like, okay, now I need to start getting into the higher end. The problem with that is you start getting into the higher-end AKs, it can take a working man months or a year or years to save up for even one. And then you get your one and you're like, okay, that's it. I have a pre-banned Chinese. I'm good to go. Then you start looking around and you're like, well, hold on a minute. I've got this 56S-1 and it's got the white carrier. What? Sile imported one with a blue carrier? So then you got to have that one too. So you get that one. And then you're like, oh, so there's the 56S-1, but then there's just the 56S. Got to get one of those. Then the 56S-2, okay. S-3, okay. Then there's all the Polytex. And then you're like, whoa, my 56S isn't even that rare. I need a AKS 762 with the Bakelite side folder. And then I need a Legend. And then before you know it, you're literally buying like $4,000 plus AKs. And that's when you realize that you may never be able to get them all. At least that's how it's worked for me, right? $70 for a SKS 9696. That's a rather uncommon code, actually. Yeah, I haven't really seen. I have heard of that code, but haven't seen too many of those at all. Chinese AKs were affordable. The Sandy Hook happened, and the prices went up. Never went back down. Yes, you're right, but that wasn't the beginning of it. What the beginning of it was is, you know, in '89, Bush 41 banned the import of quote unquote assault rifles. So all of the guns we now know as pre-bans, George Bush ended those. Then in 1990, we got like our Mac 90 and NHM 91s and all those. And those were short-lived because in 94, Clinton banned all Chinese guns with the exception of shotguns and banned most of their ammunition too. So yeah, they have been steadily increasing from, let's say, 94 all the way up to Sandy Hook. And then Sandy Hook is what pushed it over the edge. All right, let me answer a couple last things, and I'm going to be getting off, guys. Good night, Mr. FNH. Let's see here. Yeah, Francis, I'm the same way. And I never ever want to come off as a gun snob, guys. But when I'm in Zeke's chats and I'm like, that new whiz bang century gun that's coming out, this so-called heavy AK and all this, guys want to talk about it. I'll talk about it with you guys, but it's just not that interesting to me, to be honest with you. None of these new guns that are coming out are interesting to me. So don't think I'm a gun snob, guys. I have all of them. It's just once you got all the, once you pick the lower hanging fruit, you kind of have to start going up into the upper tiers of things. So again, I'm as humble as it is. And if anyone ever wants to talk to me about like, what gun can I get into just to protect my family with and just to kind of get a feel for the platform, I'm all about that too. But at the same time, just some of these current offerings just aren't very interesting to me. And that's all I mean by that. Just not interested. Nothing wrong with them though. SKSM, made in 93 and very poorly made. Does it look? Does it look something like this? This one's a Sporter. Sporter and M, virtually the same thing. Takes the AK mags. But yeah, we can talk about this later. It's just funny you said SKSM. I had to show you real quick. Now, I have a true pre-ban SKSD that are actually quite rare. There's a variant that actually has the regular stock, not the Sporter butthole stock, right? And it still has the bayonet lug and all that proper on it. So the true SKSD, the Navy Arms import, that's a little bit of a rare gun, but I got one of those at home. This just happened to be laying up here in the shop. It's just funny that you said SKSM. This is a Sporter, which is pretty close. But yeah, man, we could talk about SKSs for a long, long time. Let's see here. The detachable mag AKs, yeah, a lot of them are SKSs. I'm sorry, a lot of those aren't too good. There's some problems. You kind of have to like find the right mag, like just fool around with different mags so you find the right one that works. But now the SKSD, that Navy Arms pre-ban I'm talking about, that's totally different. Because when you bought that gun, you got 3 mags serialized to the gun, and they actually took the time. And you can see, like with a little bit of filing they did on it at the factory, they actually custom fit those mags. So if you find one of the good SKS AK mag variants, they run like the clock. But yeah, I have a couple of those actually. I have a shooter, and that's how I know that they work pretty good. And then I have like a new in the box, like white glove grade, if you will, SKSD. But yeah, I could talk about SKSs for hours, guys. That could be a whole topic someday. Yeah, Mateo's into the modern AKs like the Sharp Brothers. Those are cool too. I'm not gonna knock them at all. It's just not my thing, right? But it's pretty cool. You'll have to let us know about that. Weren't you gonna build one of those Sharps Brothers? I thought. Jay has a Panic Era 1063 canted all over. Yeah. Here's the thing though, guys. Canted sights are actually fall within mil spec still. There's military guns with canted sights too, so don't freak out too bad about that. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Braster, there's a Monte Carlo stock too. That's the SK. That's another SKSM. Listen, we could have a whole nother like hour talk, 5-hour talk, just on these SKSs. They came and went under different names and different stocks. Cowboy Companion, Farmer's Friend, Paratrooper, D. I mean, we could go on and on and on. There's the Sporter. There's a lot of them. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I've even got a couple stamped SKSs too, where it's got a sheet metal stamped and riveted receiver. That's another old variant that they actually were experimenting with for military use. Yeah, Mateo, I'm sorry. Yeah. Got the receiver still sitting there. I know all about that. Yeah, I've got some Wasser 1063s. I like those too. One of mine's in one of my videos, the Battlefield Pickup Romanian that I did. I showed a picture of my Wasser that was actually used in the, I guess you could say in war, right? The Ugandan contractor Wasser, and then a few other Wassers. Well, maybe more than a few, but yeah, they are what they are, but they're pretty good guns as a whole. I like the old ones that were built on the military parts kits more than I do these brand new ones, if I had to pick. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I just went over a half hour longer than I was gonna, and it's getting late for everybody. So I appreciate you guys coming on, and yeah, thanks for sticking it out with me and chatting. Good talk, guys. Just yeah, if you have any more questions, save them for next time, and we'll start talking about the same stuff again. I mean, I like to talk about these different handguns, and obviously, you guys know I like to talk about the AK. We could really talk about the Mo's and something really into those, SKSs. So yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to be taking off. So yeah, good night, everyone, and thanks again.